have our first guest.
We do.
Dr. Bessie Fletcher, welcome to Atlanta Live.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you. Nice meeting you too.
And we're so happy that you're here. You're doing some phenomenal things.
God is moving.
You got a lot of roles that you play.
Yes. God is moving. You know, the Holy Spirit says it's time to go. It's time to go. It's time.
Yes.
So I'm on that campaign now. It's time.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about yourself. Tell us where you're from and a little bit about how you got to be on that little trip we talked about earlier, that tour you're on.
Well, basically, I tell people I'm a country girl. I was born and raised in South Carolina, a little town called Lake City.
Okay.
And from Lake City, most people know us because Ronald McNair, a cousin of mine, an astronaut, was from that town.
That's right.
But from that, I went to North Carolina and spent my adult life there, and the Lord just moved me around. And a few years ago, He sent me to Florida to start the ministry. So now I'm to go out throughout the world and deliver the message. But I'm an only child, have one child, 2 grandchildren, and now I have a great grandson, 5 months old. You know, just things are happening and God is moving, and I'm excited to be back in Winston-Salem with my family, because I only have one daughter.
Right.
And then because he wouldn't let me come. He put me to Florida and said, you got to stay here.
This is where I've assigned you.
Right. And I'm like, Lord, I don't know anybody. But 12 and a half years, it was a wonderful journey.
An assignment you have there.
Yeah.
You've done your book, The Good News. Tell us about the Good News books that you've written that I think that's going to minister to so many people that will be watching tonight.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit, basically, when I go back and tell you about my assignment in 1997.
Okay.
God said to me, and I've been a child that has been speaking to God since I was 5, so very familiar with the voice.
Okay.
And He would give me instructions and tell me things that was coming. One day I was walking down the beach, and I was in Daytona Beach, and God said, I have an assignment for you, and it's your last assignment. I'm like, last assignment?
Am I getting ready?
Am I getting ready to leave?
Gonna be with you for real?
Right. The last assignment. And I said, well, Lord, what is it? Never answered. 2 years went by. And finally, I was training. I was a corporate trainer at the time. And finally, I was training, and all of a sudden, the Lord spoke to me, as He does, over my left shoulder. He says, I want you to create a mother and daughter conference, and I want you to minister to mothers and daughters. I'm like, okay, that's not a big thing. You know, I create modules, and you're a trainer. We train, and we do what we do.
Yes.
This has been a journey. I thought every mother and daughter had a mother and daughter relationship like my mother and daughter. Like my mother and I, but I'm an older child, so later to find out that I was a yes daughter. So, you know, that makes a difference. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So you don't get into trouble because you yes, ma'am.
Or no, ma'am. It's like, yes, the manners.
Yeah, right.
Yes,
so until I got to the age of 40-something and got a divorce, and then my mother said, oh, no, that's not what you're going to do. And I said, well, Mother, I already made up my mind. That's the first time I ever said no to my mother. And it turned into an interesting dynamics, because my mother's from the old school. And she's like, if I was able, I would spank you. That is not her words. But, and I said, well, Mother, she said, no, you're not going to ruin my perfect family.
Ooh.
And that, as a psychologist, you know, it took me to a place, and I thought, wow, is that what she's thinking? You know, because she had me on a pedestal. So we really never got into a deep conversation until I said, Mother, that's not what I want to do.
Right. So that's when things begin to shift.
Right. And when it shifted, and then I had to, and for a while she was trying to spank me with, you know, putting my daughter up on the pedestal. And I said, well, okay, well, you know, you can, whatever you want to do with her, she's fine, because we're close. But finally, you know, we had the conversation. We had to have an honest conversation. And I had to say, Mother, you have to take off the white robe. You know, it's not that way. And a lot of times people say, well, is this how you got started with mother and daughter? No. God selected me, ordained me for this mission.
Right.
And I needed to go through that experience, because otherwise I would not have known a negative from a mother and daughter experience, because
you're living in this world where everything is wonderful. You have a holistic, a wonderful relationship. You get along. It's the ideal situation. No issues, no drama, all peace.
And then all of a sudden a trigger.
And trigger. But when I got into the dynamics of mothers and daughters, I'm telling you, for the last 20 years, I've been doing this for 20 years. And I need to write a book on the experiences.
Yes, absolutely.
Never knew until God showed me it's the hidden secrets. Women walk around with hidden secrets, and what happens in this house stays in this house. It will drive you insane, because what's happening now, you living an imitation life.
Yes.
You're not really having a conversation. Everybody's just yes and doing what they need to do to get by. How was your day? Oh, just fine. And yours, just fine. Not having a conversation.
But what's really going on? What's underneath the surface?
Never getting
what's
to
driving underneath the surface? What's underground?
Right. When they come sit in my office, and the first thing they say is, you know what, I don't even like my mother. And most people think that I'm dealing with teenagers. No, I'm dealing with women that are 25 to 58, and they have a mother 87 and 80 years old. And they come to me and say, you know, I don't even like her. She never was there for me. She never had a kind word for me. But now I got to take care of her. And I don't want to. The only reason I'm doing it is because what? I don't want my friends to say, well, look at how she's treating her mother. So shame makes me take care of her.
Yes.
I don't do it out of love.
Out of
so when they
shame.
come to the office, I'm like, okay, we got to get to what happened.
Right.
And what happened starts around 5 to 12 years old.
Yes.
The things that didn't happen, the love they didn't get,
Right.
the rebellion, the rejection.
Right.
Yes.
It stems a lot from the rejection that they didn't get, because when you hear and you think of mother and daughter, you think it's a wonderful relationship. Like I had a great relationship with my mom. Now, we have our issues, yes, but we had a great relationship. But I know everyone does not have that. But we did butt heads a few times.
Yeah, of course. And you will do that. See, that's what I tell people. It's not a perfect mother and daughter relationship.
Right.
You get
That's
that
very
first.
natural.
Yes.
Because we're not perfect people.
No.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you don't have a perfect mother and daughter relationship, and since you don't have a perfect mother and daughter relationship, you got to do what? You've got to get to the issues. Let's discuss
Yes.
it. Let's forgive each other. Let's love each other, and you move on.
Yes.
That's all you can do. You
Yes.
can't change it.
But what happens when, you know, sometimes mom is gone, and so you never got a chance to have that conversation. And so are you experiencing and meeting with women that kind of regret that? They can't have it, but they still need to heal, but mom is not there for me to talk to and heal.
Right.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yes, when someone come in and they have the issue, I have them do a little exercise. First of all, we get to what is it that you feel the problem is, because we don't have your mother here.
Right.
And they'll say, well, you know, I think this had happened and I should have not said this or done this. Okay, let's just list all those things and then we'll go through them and break it down so that the person can get an understanding of how they got to that point. Now that we're here, I have them sit down and do an exercise and put a chair in front of them. And I want you to talk to your mother.
Yes.
Because we're spiritual beings.
Right.
You know,
That's right.
I teach on, and I've been doing this for about 30 years. I teach on something called the intro conversation. The intro conversation is that ongoing conversation in your head. And once you can manage that conversation, you can control 90 to 95% of the things that happen in your life.
That's good.
But
that
you've
is
got to be able to manage that conversation.
Yes.
So I teach them to take all of these pieces of conversation, see yourself in a circle, and you see just a door, just all the way around you. Then you're going to take each thought and you're going to put it in that door so you can clarify where you are. And then now you're going to go back and pull out one at a time.
You break it
So you
down.
don't get no stress. You know what I mean?
Right,
I can teach
right.
people how not to be stressed. You're not supposed to be stressed at all.
Right.
So now I'm teaching them, okay, what is it that you put it away? Now let's deal with one at a time. And when you do that, the intro conversation, because, you know, this thing
The
can
noise that you can have going on in your head.
people go into deep
Yes.
depression because you know, when I tell them it's not depression as much as it's over conversations in your head.
Yes.
I have a conversation with you, and then I go in, ask you, and I get your conversation. Then I call somebody else, and I got 2 or 3 friends. By the time you get all of those conversations, you're in overload.
You're confused sometimes at the same time. Yes.
And then you don't know what to do. You know, you have got to learn how to put the conversations in a box, deal with each one, and break it down. That way, your mind don't trigger and go into what some people call insane, the insane mode. It's just overloaded conversations.
The other thing that's interesting about that is I found sometimes when we need to talk to someone, we don't for a variety of reasons.
Right.
But I found, and I've always thought, well, this is probably just women, but I'm not sure. we may not have the conversation with the person we need to have it with, but we have it here. And so because we don't have true rebuttal in our minds, we can go back and forth. Well, I'm going to say this, and then she'll say that, or he'll say that, and then I'll say this, and we do this over and over. Play out all the scenarios instead of just going to speak to our mother, our father, our sister, our brother.
But
we
even
never
that,
get anywhere.
sometimes you also still, in that process, we figure it out in our own mind.
Hopefully.
With our own resolve. Doesn't mean it's right, but it's our own resolution.
Yeah, you come to
Yes.
something that's
Because we
possible for you.
that you can live with this palatable. I can handle that.
You know, God even said it, right? It's in the Bible. When you have an art with your sister or your brother, you go
need
to
to
them.
go to them.
And when you don't do that, what you're doing is having an art with yourself.
Yes.
And then when you see the person, you're not loving. You see them coming and you want to go to, you know,
Other direction.
another
Or you pretend,
direction,
oh,
act
you
like
look
you
and
don't even see them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Or the
Right.
phone ring and you don't answer it because what? You're avoiding those conversations that you have already said in your head what it is, and 9 times out of 10, it's not what you say it is.
Right.
You ever done that?
Right.
You build it up, you
Yes,
says, I'm gonna do
yes.
this and I'm gonna do that, and she says this, and then the devil gets in there, and then he's gonna tell you, you know,
Add that
you
little
ought to
extra
just,
piece.
you know,
Yes.
he's gonna tell you something, you know,
something that's really that you know that's not God.
no, I'm not gonna do
Right.
that.
Yeah.
And then the person come up and say, hi, how are you doing? Girl, how you do? You look so pretty.
Haven't seen you in a long time.
Yeah, you're like, I didn't want to talk to you because in my mind, I
Right.
thought you was going to come from a different
Yes.
angle
Yeah.
because we pre-program.
Yes.
Yes.
So you got to learn to manage those intro conversations, and that's what I teach mothers and daughters. Sit down, have the conversation. You're having a conversation in your head, the daughter's having a conversation in her head, and everybody's assuming that the other know what they're thinking.
they're thinking.
Right.
And you
You're on
can't
2 different
assume.
pages.
Right, 2 different pages.
And 2 different books.
Right. And so it's a simple solution. What are you going to do? You take a 3-minute timer, you get a piece of paper and a pen, each of you, and then when one person states the problem, this is what I'm dealing with, the other one, listen. Zip your mouth. Don't speak, don't say nothing, write down what you think they said.
Yes.
So I want to hear about this campaign, though. You know, we want to make sure that it's time. Your campaign that you talked about earlier, that it's time, because that was like
Yes.
something that
Oh,
the
that's the key
listening, the
element.
audience needs to hear that. They need to hear about your campaign on
Okay.
It's Time.
Okay. The It's Time campaign, I've been doing this for 20 years, and God said to me, it's time for you to start the ministry. We did all of that. And then one day he just said to me, it's time. But he didn't just say it. He sent 3 different messengers to tell me it was coming, angelical messages. And so all of a sudden he said, it's time. I said, time for what? He said, it's time for you to go out. It's time for you to gather them up.
You're like, gather who up?
Yeah. And see, I had to go back to the conversations we had some years ago.
Previously, right.
Go get the mothers, bring them in. God says, I am tired of the way the world is. And it's time. And if something doesn't happen, if mothers and daughters don't come together right now, God is going to move. And it's not going to be, he's going to allow some things to happen. So my role right now is to speak to as many mothers and daughters throughout the world and tell them, God needs your help. See, sometimes people think that, oh, God can do anything. No, he can't. He has to have a body. He's a spirit. He has to come through somebody.
He's a vessel, yes.
Right. So he's saying, I need the mothers. He's not pleased with the shootings, the killings, and people just walking in and doing and saying anything they want to say about anybody. I mean, do you see the wave that's going on? God has said, it's time. It's got to stop. But he says the mother is the only one that can stop it. Because if a mother speaks to her son, I don't care if the mother is drug addict, dancing on the pole, I don't care. She can be in church. But if she speaks to that child and tell her son, stop it, he'll stop. Children listen to their mother. And the most valuable piece is that they are the mother, not where they are, where they've been. You are the mother.
The role.
God wrote,
The
role.
sent them through you. You have authority over your children. And you need to speak. And we got to start speaking.
At a younger age.
And even now, you got
the
to
womb.
speak to the ones, because this is what he said. And I'm like, Lord, I don't even want to know if I should touch on this or not. But he told me, he said, all those women that say, me too, me too. He said, why didn't they say, hashtag my mother? I told my mother. They hashtag me too, but they never told their mother. You should be able to tell your mother anything.
Yes.
Yes.
That speaks
Hashtag I
volumes.
told my mother. You know, and I think we're going to have to see that movement move to the point where daughters are coming and saying, you know what, this is what happened to me. Because nobody loves you like your mother. Nobody can soothe you like your mother. If you lay your head on your mother's lap and she rubs your head and say, baby, it's okay, you will just go flying out.
Like
into
everything's going to be okay. Everything's going to be okay.
It's
Yes.
good. And that's the It's Time movement.
So what kind of responses are you seeing as you go on your way from mothers, from daughters, the differences in the age group, our millennials, from our other generations? What kind of responses are you seeing, and what does success look like for this particular project?
In the next minute, if you can share that with us.
Okay. Well, the next project, I don't even know what this looks like. I'm going to be honest with you, because God hasn't shared that with me. But I can tell you, over the 20 years, I have had mothers and daughters to come in to see me, and haven't spoken in 40 years. In 2 hours, it's like it never happened. The Holy Spirit moves.
That's success.
And I do mother-daughter.
Yes.
I do mother and daughter conferences around the world. And I'm telling you, when they come in, they're not speaking, they're not looking at each other. And when they leave, they're hugging. It's like a whole new world. And I don't do it. And I mean, it's
God uses you. You're the vessel that He's using.
And the Holy Spirit does it every time.
But tell people how they can reach you.
They can reach me at my website, mdbn.org. You can also, I don't know if you want to give a phone.
You can give your phone number. You can give your phone number as well.
My phone number is 954-665-4205. 954-665-4205.
Give them that website again.
It's mdbn.org, Mother Daughter Bonding Network.
Okay.
Oh, see, she broke it down for us. It's like,
yes.
Some people can get it because sometimes I have a southern drawl, and
they need to go get their pen. I want them to go get their pen so they can capture what you said.
Yes.
All right.
Yes.
Well, it's been a pleasure. May God continue to just expand your territory and to increase you more and more as you go forth in the healing process of bringing mothers and daughters together. That is just an amazing ministry. May God just continue to just give you all that you need.
Okay. And I want to tell them they can go there and get the book too as well.
Okay. Good news. All right. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you.
Blessings.
And now we're going to the song again.